So for this video, we're going to be going over some changes the group and I decided to make, some based on feedback from the community, some new stuff we're looking at doing. So we're going to jump right into this. So as everybody knows, before we had the Marines and the Army up at Anderson. Marines were on the northeast side. The Army was on the west side of Anderson, and then kind of, northwest and southeast was the Air Force. Well, what we decided to do was there's this big empty airfield now, right? Because we cleared everything off on the at the international airport, the central part of the map. So through some community suggestions, through talking with Candy, and through some careful thought, what we decided the best thing to do was to get the Army and the Marines right into action. We kind of felt it was a big waste having everything so far north. Kind of probably felt most people weren't going to grab the Hueys or the Cayuse, Cobra, Chinook, any of that from far up north and take the time to fly down south. So what I've done is, using the new group tool, I've moved the Marines and the Army down to the center air base, and we're going to make the North Anderson, or we're going to make Anderson the Air Force base. So you'll be able to take off out of there with F4 still, Broncos, F5s. We've even talked about C-130 module, obviously, when that comes out. And then Central, we're going to have the Chinooks. So Army still has Chinooks, Cayuse, Hueys. Again, we'll add the Cobras here and at the FARP on the west side of the map when the Cobra comes out. And then for the Marines, we have the Hueys, the A4 Skyhawk, the Broncos, and again, when we get some liveries for the F4s, we'll put some F4s down here as well. So what I'd like to do now is just kind of take off and show you what we've got going on. This is a work in progress. We'll let you know when we're going to release it. We haven't made a decision yet because we still got to do some testing. So what we have done to work on performance, and one thing, this was another reason we decided to move this, but performance has increased pretty good for us up in Anderson now. We did a test flight this morning. I think we uncovered some of the performance issues. So I've got the sun coming up. This is also on single player, so hopefully I don't run into any issues doing that. So what we did, starting at the northwest side of the airfield right now, we had a little bit of performance hit having so many Chinooks on the flight deck. I mean, you're more than welcome to throw some in there. We're just going to leave 3 out right now. Over here, I've taken some of the towers and stuff that were up at Anderson and just kind of created a makeshift comms room over there, outpost. And then I went ahead and added the surrounding barriers here, the wood barricades. And I've only thrown down a few towers. You'll see just a few twitches here and there. The sun's just cresting the hill, but by no means is performance taking any kind of hit or anything that I'm noticing right now. But as you can see, it's kind of barren, right? So the script Candy used took all the stuff off the map down here to include the terminals and all the modern day stuff. So you can see kind of like a drop off in elevation there. Here we've got, I think, about 4 Cayuse, 4 Cobra, or 4 Hueys. And I'm still working on what we're going to plug in here. And let me slow down here for a minute. So this get the guys telling you what they call these God, man, I can't talk. These hangars right here, or bunkers. These were causing big performance hits for the guys, so I pulled a lot of these off the map. I left 4 of them down here. We'll decide whether or not they need to stay. But online, the guys were getting some performance issues with those, so I took a lot of those off. I definitely removed them up north in Anderson. So there you go. There's one of the snags right there. Again, it's like half a second. A little annoying, but it might have something to do with the sun coming up and those bunkers, I don't know. But over here again, not really any performance hit. We've got the tower, the control tower. All this is pretty much dragged from up at Anderson and repurposed or replaced here. I took some of the ammo bunkers out because I think those were causing performance hits too. And some of these micro stutters y'all are seeing right now, one, I think it definitely has something to do with single player. I'm not online right now. And one thing I do know it has something to do with is I've got the shadows turned up all the way with the sun coming up. And I think that in combination with playing in VR and with the sun coming up and the full fog effects on, you're going to get some of these micro stutters. I will say when we're playing online, we do not have this issue. So I can't explain that one. Candy might be able to do a better job, but anyways, get back to the video. So that's what we've got right now for the Army. Not a whole lot. We're going to start populating stuff down here again. I don't want the center airfield to turn into, you know, another Anderson issue where everybody's seeing performance hits. Because another thing we have down here that we didn't have at Anderson, as you can see, is the fog. So the sun's just coming up. The fog won't burn off yet. So we've got all this empty space. I made the transition for the Army and the Marines this week, or this weekend when I got back from work travel. So still trying to put some thought into what I want to do down here without beating it up performance-wise. But what me and the guys are really wanting to accomplish here is for people to be able to jump into a Cayuse, a Cobra, a Huey, whatever, a Chinook, and pop down south here and get over the hill and get right into it. We definitely have some ideas, which I'll get into here later into the video, on new stuff we want to, like new objectives, new content that we want to bring to the game as far as troop insertions, extractions, all subject to change pending we can code this, which Candy feels pretty confident we can, but we'll kind of get into that here in a minute. I'm going to cruise down here to the south end before I head back up to the Marines and show you our new MASH unit. And this was suggested by Zipper. There's a big empty area down here at the end of the runway, clear of any traffic coming in. So, and I may build onto this, but basically created a hospital down here. And a big reason I did this, yes, we have FARPs with MASH units, but I kind of wanted like a bigger hospital-ish area. So these are dust-off Hueys, right? These aren't going to be armed. I believe you have the dust-off liveries on there if you download our liveries. And then two of those pads are also for CH-47s, which I'll also get into here in a little bit. But I think what I would like to do, or we'd like to do, is turn this MASH unit into a dust-off unit and have dynamic spawned like troops in contact, where you'll hear radio transmissions come out, dudes under fire. And if you're flying solo, it'll be a little difficult, as it should be, because it was during Vietnam. These guys would go in without any air support or anything and throw their ass into the gunfire with the NVA and pick up troops that were wounded. So I think we'd like to try to simulate that. So these two dust-off units here, if you pick one of those and spawn into it and take off, what we'd like to try to do is it only triggers a dust-off objective or mission. Throw the visor down here. If you jump into one of those Hueys, and if you jump into one of those Hueys, then you'll get the radio transmission of a firefight maybe, or whatever we decide to throw y'all's way and surprise you with. And the objective is to get within range, have them pop smoke, and then you'll have to set down under fire and pick up some troops and get them back here. So the objective isn't to go in guns blazing and take the whole thing out. Now, what does that do for a co-op scenario? Well, Zipper, myself, and Candy is a good example. If I'm flying dust off and they're, let's say, flying the Cayuse or the Bronco A4, whatever, then I can do the dust off roll, and my buddies can come in and provide close air support. So it really opens up the door, whether you're playing single player or multiplayer with your buddies, to really decide how you want to approach, you know, that objective. And that's only if you spawn into a dust-off Huey, right? So the CSAR is still always going to pop randomly. If you have to eject, your buddy gets shot down, creates a CSAR mission. You can take the dust-off Hueys or the Cayuse or just a random Huey to go pick them up, or even the CH-47 now. Those are absolutely compatible now with CSAR, which I demonstrated with the boys in one of our videos. Again, just to prove my point, wags. Looking into the sun here, you can't see anything, right? So you throw the visor down, it really does help. Not a lot of modules have this. I won't get on the hate train about it, but it's definitely in the fog. Having this visor helps tremendously with the Cayuse. Anyways, we'll get off that subject and move on to what we're doing here. So, moving into the Marines area of the base, the Marine portion again, very empty here. Kind of taking my time for two reasons. One, I want it to look good. I don't want to just slap a bunch of shit down and have it not make sense, but I also want performance to be good. So I took these off of Anderson because this is what I had up there with the Hueys. This was a pretty good spot to put it. Tentatively, kind of what I'm thinking is maybe a squadron barracks and buildings down here, facilities. I'll show you where I got the Hueys here in a minute. It's still not completely sold on what I want to do with this empty space. I don't want to just fill it with a bunch of flare that's not usable. So I don't know. Maybe we'll do some aircraft stuff down here. I don't know yet. But moving further north here, you can kind of see where I've started with the airplane stalls. And again, these hangars here, these shelters, this type of shelter here, I believe it's a Masson asset pack. I don't know what the deal is, but these definitely were causing, maybe it's just the texture, I don't know, but these were causing, and you can kind of see the microstutters were causing some performance issues. I thought it was these barricades, but that doesn't seem to be the case because performance is really good up north at Anderson now. So we've been taking those out. If I got to take more out, I will. So moving on right now, just kind of face the A4s here. So just like up at Anderson where we had the Marine stuff, essentially I used the group tool, which was awesome. Just grabbed all of this as is for the most part and moved the A4s down here. So as far as how they're laid out, it's very almost identical to Anderson, just kind of a different location, different vibe. I threw the squadron barracks back there. In fact, here we can just kind of cruise on over there. This may change a little bit. I put these down. Like I said, this is still a work in progress. If I feel we need to do something different back here, we will. But yeah, I threw some squadron barracks down because it kind of made sense. You know, the pilots chilling back here, protected. We'll do something back here with some of that empty space, but you know, they run right out to their aircraft and hop in. Again, this is for the fixed wing. I removed two more of those barracks there, or not barracks, but bunkers. And then, just like up at Anderson, here's our Marine Broncos or Marine OV-10s. I would like to put some F4s in here when we get some liveries, so we might juggle where the aircraft actually go, and I may just do away with those bunkers if we keep getting these stutters. Again, I want to stress that this might be a single player issue too. We can go off on another tangent with that video later. Brought the Marine barracks down here, fits in really well, and I'm really happy with this. So this is where I'm putting the Hueys, right? There's our Marine barracks. Here's the tower for the Hueys. Got some containers and stuff. Basically exactly how it was at Anderson, only drug down here. So I definitely plan on beefing this up more, making it look more like a helo operational area. But I'm really happy with the way this is turning out right now. Again, performance is awesome. You're seeing some micro stutters. Again, I really do think it's because it's single player and we've got a lot of scripting going on here and we're running this on a dedicated server. I don't want to get into the minutia on how single player works versus multiplayer, but all I can say is we're trying to build this with single player in mind, but this is really meant to be online as a co-op experience or single online. So if you're experiencing some of these micro stutters, I would definitely suggest turning the shadows down and stuff like that. But I mean, so yeah, right now this is it. Right now, like I said, I just migrated all this stuff down to the central base this week or this weekend. I'll hop in another aircraft here in a minute, like a Bronco or something. and just splice it into this video, and I'll fly over Anderson so you can kind of see what it looks like from above. We really don't need to do a real close in of Anderson because it all looks the same minus what I pulled out. But I would kind of like to demonstrate the, if we have time in this video, demonstrate the performance improvements. So what I'm going to do now, I'll just go ahead and kind of pull up and kind of discuss. I'm going to hop in another helicopter. Actually, you know what? We can just fly over here. So Toby and 8-Ball have a pack out there, a Maritime asset pack, a civilian, I'm going to butcher the name of it. It's like a civilian Maritime asset pack. And we've got some really cool ideas for utilizing those ships. Now, we've incorporated a lot of them into the map already. So one of those ideas is a MACV SOG insertion extraction objective, and what I've done is I've incorporated 3 locations on the map for our SOG units, for Vietnam SOG units. One of them is going to be on the East Coast. It's going to be off of a boat from that asset pack that Toby and 8-Ball worked on a while back. And let me tell you, these boats are absolute primo quality, just like their Cayuse in the Vietnam pack, which is why I'm using it. So what I did with the East Coast SOG unit was I threw a Huey on the back of the boat, and what I really wanted to pull off was the relationship between the HAL 13 Navy Huey that was used to support the SOG units during Vietnam. It was iconic. It was very, very closely related to SOG and SEAL units during Vietnam, and they had just a phenomenal success story during the war. So if you download our liveries, and it's going to be hard to find this boat with the fog, you may wind up having to cheat and use the F10 menu, but let me get oriented here. But if you've downloaded our liveries pack from the thread, what you're going to find in there is all the stuff we have placed on the map is going to have the appropriate liveries, of course, unless you go in and change it. And what I've done is, for all the SOG units I've put down on the map, you're only going to have the HAL 13 liveries for those units. And during Vietnam, and my research could be wrong on this, right? I'm not a historical expert, but the limited research I have done on the SOG units is that like modern day special operations dudes, they operate in smaller groups. So from what I can understand, the actual SOG dudes really only had 3 to 4 guys in a certain location, along with like maybe, I don't know, 8 to 11 interpreters or something like that. I'm sure I'll get corrected on this, but the goal is, if we could utilize these SOG units I've put down in these like austere quote-unquote locations around the map, what I would like to do, if we can pull it off with the triggers, is go in and take these guys out, and the way ahead, just like with the dust-off units, if you take off from one of the 3 SOG FARPs, it will trigger an opportunity for you to go insert 2 or 3 SOG units, maybe an interpreter, and then when you insert those guys, we have another trigger that bounces off 5 or 10 minutes later and tells you to come pick them up. And when you get in the area, you're going to start taking fire, and it's going to present maybe a danger close scenario. We'd like to change this so it's not the same every time. But yeah, you go in, work together or solo to take out the guys around the hooches, and then once all ground units are eliminated, the guys will evac the hooch. You pick them up, and the goal is to return them to where you took off from, either being the east, south, or west FARP. And then that might present another mission or something maybe. So here is, and I'm glad we found this without having to go to the F10 map. I'll see if I can't set us down, but This is one of the old tugs that Toby and 8-Ball did, and it's phenomenal. And right now you don't see it on there, but there's a client slot on there for the HAL 13 Huey, and if you spawn in, you're going to spawn in on the back of this thing. And this is where I would like to simulate having the SOG guys. The SOG unit that's on the East Coast is going to operate off this boat. So if you decide to take an objective using the East Coast SOG units, you're going to have to take off and land from here. The goal is to make things a little more challenging, right, with the SOG units, not some big open field, but kind of tight quarters, landing and taking off, because they did operate in austere locations. But as you guys can see, I mean, the detail level on these boats that Toby and 8-Ball did is beyond phenomenal. So you can come in, you can sit down on the boat. Here we go. You can see, I mean, just how detailed everything is. And let me tell you, it's in VR, it's a hell of a good time taking off and landing on these things. It presents another challenge. I mean, you're in motion when you jump into the helo, it's quiet. I mean, just the immersion level is awesome. And we felt like this was a lot of value added to the mission, and historically it kind of goes with how things, maybe how operations played out in Vietnam. So this is one of the asset packs on there. We're gonna keep heading south. I'm gonna show you some other stuff with this Maritime pack that we've added that also brings more value. And why am I showing you all this? Because this is, I want to say it's like a 3 gig download. And, you know, yes, we're asking you to download more mods, but we definitely feel that without that, you know, you just don't have that level of realism, authenticity, that feel of Vietnam. And that's really what we're trying to bring. And, you know, like, fortunately or unfortunately, I would say fortunately, we have really talented mod makers out there that can do this for the community. I would say unfortunately, if you're that type of personality that wants to wait on something official, without, and I'm not beating my chest here, and I'm not being arrogant, this all the credit really goes out to our talented mod makers, but without Eagle Dynamics pushing out something with Vietnam, you know, from the sound of it, years down the road now, and seeing that the Marianas map actually doesn't have any jungle on it when the World War II version comes out, like, this is it. Like, unless somebody comes out and makes their own map and you know, really just accelerates at something better than what we're trying to accomplish here. And again, I would welcome the competition to do anything better than us. It's just, you know, this is a tremendous amount of work for us to throw this together, and I think without us really turning towards the modding community to do that, we're not going to see anything with Vietnam for a while. I mean, yeah, we're going to get the aircraft, which is awesome. Stand by. Here's one of those
US Air Force
random SAR missions.
Sam hit us.
SAR.
Southwest Island, course 045, Angels 8. Thick jungle cover beneath us. Losing control, 2 punching out, send Caesar.
So I'm going to circle back around so y'all can see this boat we have down there. So there's one other asset pack. I don't remember the guy's name, but he created some Vietnam barges and gunboats, like real small riverine gunboats. Now, it's not Tet-Tets or TT's mods. It's not his. It's not the Vietnam asset pack mod from him. This was like a one-off. This dude did a bunch of static stuff, and he made a few Vietnam barges and gunboats. And we really feel it brings, again, another level of authenticity to the game. So this is the only other asset pack we're going to ask you to download, and this one's a little more challenging to figure out because you got to download a big pack and then just pull the boats out of it. You don't need everything in there. But it just adds like a really cool factor to making this feel more like Vietnam. So these are like river gunboats. Now, I'm not going to spoil it and show you all of them, but we put a few other ones up near the old fart, the original fart. Some of you may ask, you know, Tet-Tet, these river patrol boats here, Tet made some of those that are single, and again, it's a huge download, and you have to pull that one boat out. And because it's just eye candy, we didn't really feel that it was worth putting the stress on the community to have to go download a 3 gig, like a 3 gig mod for that one boat. It would be cool if it was in the Vietnam asset pack, but unfortunately, that's one for the time being that we're just going to live without, unless for some reason we get overwhelming support from the community to say, hey, we don't mind downloading it and just pulling that out. Then maybe we would reconsider. But right now, we've got Toby and 8 Ball's Maritime pack that it's gonna be a new addition, along with these new Vietnam river craft that we've incorporated. There's a bigger one too that's also in that pack, called, I believe it's the LX-15. You'll see it down here as well. I'll do a video on how to get those out, because again, it's the new Vietnam boats minus Toby and 8 Ball's pack requires a little bit of pulling the folders out and dropping them into your tech folder. It's not hard. It's just if I said, hey, go download this and put it in your tech folder, you wouldn't know what I'm telling you to put in your tech folder without installing everything, going into the mission editor and seeing what they're labeled as, and then dropping them in. So I fully intend on doing a video telling y'all how to install it step by step, and you can literally do it within 5 minutes. You download what I tell you to download. You literally cut and paste the 3 folders that I tell you to cut and paste into the tech folder, and you're good to go. So I'll have to shoot that video later on before we release it. But something I am noticing, Candy and I have been talking about this, is the stuttering in single player. I'm getting a little bit of it, and I never get that. 0 chance in hell I get that when playing in multiplayer. One thing I'll say is, like, Candy and I don't have the volume or the time, the bandwidth to be able to work through everything in single player, just because of real world jobs. And Candy spends a lot of time scripting and working on improving the experience from his side, as I work through, you know, making additions and redacting stuff, trying to make it performance friendly, but bringing new content as well. So you're gonna have to flow with us on the single player route. I would definitely say that, you know, we built this with the intention of multiplayer in mind and flying with friends, and we want to be able to allow this to be a single player experience. But again, it's going to be difficult pulling that off when we just don't have the time to troubleshoot everything. So here's the South FARP again. I forgot, since I'm not online, we'll have to circle around the other side of the island for the other boat I'm talking about. But there's some of those gunboats that we've added to the pontoons down here. Nothing new at the South FARP, but one thing I can show is this new boat that I'm talking about. Actually, we may have one down here that I dropped in this morning. One of the river craft with a hover pad on it, a helipad. Can't even talk. I don't know if it. I was having some trouble this morning scripting it so close to shore with waypoints, but pick up the pace here. So there's a bigger one called the LX-15. Kind of think of it as a one-man shop for the Huey and the Cayuse. Here we go. Have it moving pretty slow. So now, one thing I'm going to have to work on with this, you can spawn a Huey on here. Looks like he's actually heading back. Oh, okay. Well, the nets are down right now. For some reason, when Candy and I were flying earlier, the nets were not down, and it was going to make landing a pain in the ass. But this is an active blue unit. So if it gets close, which we don't have any enemy anywhere near it, but well, here I'll circle around the front so you can get a good look at it before I land. But it's got lights on it. You can see down below. It's pretty cool. They've got 60s. I think they're 60s. It may be 50s actually. But it's a super cool platform to take off from and land on. You can see the yeah, it's looks like 50 cals maybe. So this big, I'm gonna say 20 millimeter. I don't know. The big cannon on the front is active. Like that thing will start engaging enemies if there's any nearby. But again, just another Vietnam ship that we've incorporated. How we'll use this, I'm not 100% sure yet. Like I haven't got. I mean, I had a Huey on here just for testing. You know, will we make this like a mobile unit for repair and rearm? Maybe, I don't know, but it definitely fits the time period, and it's just another platform that we can land and take off from. Again, very cool. We got to make sure the comms work on this thing, because like I said, when we were online earlier, just like the frigates and stuff in DCS, these nets are up. So you got to radio in that you're inbound, and then they'll lower down. But more than big enough for a Cayuse, a Huey. And then these lights look really cool. We don't have anything at night right now, but these lights are super cool. Early in the morning when it's a little dark outside, the fog. So yeah, this is again, it's another one of the boats that's not Toby and 8 Balls that comes with the one that I'm gonna have to tell y'all how to download. There were 3 boats in that pack. The gunboat I showed y'all back there that's attached to the barge, that one, and then hopefully this other one hasn't run into the ground. There's a very small one. It's challenging to land on, especially for the Huey. But these were actually used in Vietnam, the one I'm about to show you, as long as it's still active up here and we haven't had any issues with it. This one was used as kind of like a temporary medical barge, from what I could read, to transport dudes in Hueys. You go and drop them off on this barge until they could be airlifted. Sorry, I'm gonna bear with me. I gotta remember where I put it. Basically, they make this a temporary holdover position, like a small medical unit for Hueys to drop wounded troops off at, and they could treat them on this barge until a Huey could come in and pick them up and take them to like a bigger medical facility, like a MASH unit. So it's right over there. It looks like it might have run into the ground. Before I do that, so I showed you the east SOG unit. We're now down south, and this is going to be our southern base of operations for the MACV SOG unit. Again, so right here. So what I'd like to pull off here, we've got these nice little islands and stuff. Again, we got the HAL 13 Huey, we got a little radio shack there for the SOG units, and then simulated living conditions, what they would be in to mimic the locals. This is a very challenging takeoff and landing if you're not in VR. Even in VR, I would say, because you got to bring the Huey pretty much straight up. And then coming in for a landing, you got to be very cognizant of where that tail rotor is going when you're coming in on the pad. But I really like this. This is going to be where you're going to have to take off from and land for the South SOG units. So more to come on that if we can script the ideas we're coming up with. And then another reason oh shit, I don't know what just happened there. That might have been me dropping the rudder pedal. I might have to work on the waypoints for this thing, because I tried to have it snake in the islands down here, if for some reason it keeps running aground, I'm probably going to have to change this up. But this is the other unit that I was telling you about. So that's the front of the ship. I don't know how it ran aground over here. I'm going to have to fix that. But this little guy there's a heavy and then there's a light. This is the heavy. It has the guns on it. And I think you can see 60s down in there. Yeah, on the side. So once we script this correctly, not script it, but just get the waypoints working correctly, I'm going to have this thing scooting around in a circular pattern close to the MAG-VSOG units down here. So if we want to simulate like dropping them off or something because one guy's wounded, then we can do that. But this little thing is definitely a challenge to land on. And like with the Cayuse, it's not so bad. It's not terrible, at least in VR. You can see all the 60s and stuff. It's not terrible with the Cayuse, but the Huey, definitely a challenge. You don't have the visibility. So this is the third unit that I was talking about from that Vietnam boat pack. So the next one, circle around the island here. The next few boats you're going to see are from Toby and 8-Ball. And I'm going to have to do a very fast pass because I'll get shot down probably. So on the southern island out here, we always have a contingency of guys that you have to deal with. And what we'd like to do with this is, right now we have some fast attack gunboats down there. They're default gunboats from Eagle Dynamics. We're working to try to improve those and make them better. Find something a little different that is kind of period specific. For right now, they're going to have to work. This asset pack that Toby and 8-Ball has a Somali trawler that's armed, and it's heavily armed. Like, looks like 20 Mike or bigger. But what we're going to do is eventually maybe try to change these boats out over here, the smaller ones, for one of those or two of those. But something else we also did was incorporate a sinking ship off the southern part of off the northern part of this island, and it looks super cool. And again, this is one of Toby and 8-Ball's ships. Now what's unique is this thing sinks over time. So when you first start out, it's taken on water, and the front end of it starts to go down. Now this is where I'm going to have to be careful. But we're just trying to incorporate some of their asset pack into the Vietnam experience, just to show wreckage and just add another level of authenticity. This fog is crazy, man. Trying to demonstrate stuff with you guys and not having the fog burn off, but so you might find some sinking ships or maybe some civilian trawlers or something that kind of populate, because out here it really doesn't take up any kind of performance hit on the ocean. And we may throw some stuff in that's just kind of scooting around out here to add to the immersion level. The last thing I want to show y'all is, again, one of the assets from their Maritime pack, their civilian Maritime pack. Now, this one I'm pretty proud of. Candy and I got put together, and in Vietnam they had mobile sea bases, and they turned these things into mobile MASH units, and they turned them into mobile sea units for repairing helicopters. And I really wanted to pull that vibe off on the west side of the island, southwest side of the island, because we have our FARP with the Broncos and stuff, you know, off to the west of the island. But on the southwest here, we've started incorporating more enemy units off in the jungle over there to make it more random and just a different experience every single time. So there's a high probability now, if you're out here flying and you've gotten used to the map and you're flying around the southwest side of the map and you're like, oh, I'm not going to get shot over here. Well, not anymore. So you've always got to be vigilant. Our scripting master, Candy, has found a new way to script in enemies in a dynamic fashion where they're just showing up everywhere now. So scouting becomes a real thing. They're no longer spawning where you think they're going to spawn, which is awesome. So this past weekend's flight, we're out there legitimately. I'm out there scouting, looking for stuff while they're overhead, and nobody is familiar with where these units are anymore. So it makes it that much more realistic when it comes to having to throw down smoke for your guys above, because they no longer have the target area memorized, which is awesome. So what we wanted was a mobile FARP, CFARP if you want to call it that, or base off the coast here, where if you got injured on the southwest side, you needed to rearm, repair, we got something that looks fairly realistic to the real thing, and that's what's leading me up to this right here. So start slowing down. Again, all Toby and 8 balls asset pack, with the exception of the addition of those river boats that I threw on the side there. But yeah, so here's our mobile base. Now what's cool is you can spawn in on the big ship, and I'll get out of the sun so you get a better view of it. You can spawn in on the big ship. You can spawn in on those 4 pads just like you can on any of their pontoons. And then that helipad up top is big enough for the Chinook, so you can land the Chinook up there. The boat over there that I landed on a minute ago on the other side of the island, you can land on that one if you want. It's static. What I really like, and what's really challenging, especially for those of you not flying in VR, is theoretically you can fit 4 Cayuse down here if you wanted to. Now we can only spawn 1 helicopter up there on the main pad, because these areas right here are not recognized as cold starts or from the deck. However, if you want to land here, rearm and repair, you're absolutely capable of doing that. And you can fit, I mean, you see the crosshair here, right? Like, you can fit 4 Cayuse down here. You could probably even fit 4 Hueys. And then you've got the main pad here for the Chinook or whatever. And then over here, again, 4 pads that you can spawn from. And then the rest of these are just statics we put down to make it look good. And then, yeah, on exit, the crane and everything is a lot higher probably than it looks on the monitor. You can easily take off under here, especially if you're in VR, without any issues. So yeah, this is what we've been working on, adding some C units, trying to get some more scripting done, working on performance. Just trying to bring this thing alive more for the Vietnam feel. We haven't started scripting insertion extraction. We'll go ahead and head to the West FARP since we're close. I'll show you the last thing I'll show you is the SOG unit for the West Airfield. And then we'll call it a day, but we get a little bit of altitude here, get above this marine layer so I can actually see where we're going. Yep, but since we're clearly years out from a Vietnam experience in DCS, our goal is to try to provide that to the community. A lot of that is going to be dependent upon scripting. It's going to be dependent upon mods that the community makes. You know, we're absolutely open to looking at stuff that you suggest, and taking all of that under advisement. That's how we kind of wound up with moving stuff down to the central airfield. Somebody brought up sling loading. Definitely looking at wanting to do sling loading stuff in the future. I know the Chinook's got a big update on the way, and that Chinook, you know, it's already got dynamic cargo. We haven't incorporated that yet. I'd like to at some point, maybe where flying the Chinook or the Huey, specifically the Chinook, maybe even the C-130 when it comes out, but we'd like to incorporate some of the cargo opportunities for those of you who like sling loading, or even just transporting with a Chinook, you know, flying cargo to a FARP to rearm or refuel it. That really comes into play, honestly, when you have a lot more people. Like even with me, Zipper, and Candy flying together, I don't ever see us running into a situation unless we literally just set the ammo and fuel reserves and all that at an extremely low amount at the FARP. And I mean, we can do that, but you know, I don't want it to become like so RPG where you have to, if you don't rearm and refuel the FARP with a CH-47, you can't have fun. But we can incorporate something to that level. So over here is our FARP way out to the west, and again, this is another reason you can just see from up here why we placed that down to the southwest, because prior to that sea base, you had to fly all the way, especially if you're flying CH-47 or anything, you're gonna have to fly from out here. It's not a terrible hump in the grand scheme of things, but it's still a little bit of a jaunt over there. So we wanted y'all to be able to get back into the action quick, if that's what you wanted, you know, if that's what you wanted to do. So, but as far as sling load goes, yeah, hoping the new Chinook, when it gets its next update, there's a lot of functionality apparently coming. Hopefully it'll smooth out some performance issues still with it, optimization. But we'll have different cargoes you can sling load with that. You can sling load with the Huey. You can do it now. There's just not really any functionality to it. You can pick it up. You can carry it to another FARP, but on the priority list, that's kind of at the back end, since it's kind of a niche role that not a whole lot of people like to do. But I definitely want to incorporate it just because I personally, you know, have the itch to do that every once in a while. It is fun and challenging, especially in the CH-47. You know, picking stuff up. This mod that we found this weekend with these riverine boats, these Vietnam boats, also came with a static folder, and it has like generators and some pretty cool shit you can sling load. So I'm contemplating that. But yep. So nothing's really changed up here. So it's just it's a little bit of a hump. We are taking into advisement the Kiowas. We're going to pull the static Kiowas off there because they just don't fit the time period. We're going to leave them as clients because the clients don't have the MMS mounted on top. So you can still get that old school feeling of flying a Scout, you know, Bell Ranger with rockets or a 50. Now, obviously, it's not going to look like that inside, right? You're going to have all the modern-day avionics, but still, if those of you who like flying the Kiowa, it'll still give you that vibe. So, across the bay here is where I put the additional SOG units, and I don't see them, partially because of the fog. I have two of those patrol boats patrolling the bay area here, which is kind of cool. But I guess this is where we'll call it. I'll set her down over here. So this is a bigger SOG unit. This is going to be the biggest one. So this is the West group over here, and I'll wind up giving them cool names. We'll name them. But this is the bigger area where the larger group of SOG guys are. Right. This isn't the most austere location, but we wanted a place on the west side, so they've got kind of like the cherry, kind of like the guys who deployed to Japan. They've got the nice location to stay, and because it's bigger, they've got two Hueys instead of one. It's a lot easier to land. They got a little training area here, a little gun range. I'll probably put a couple watchtowers in here. Then we got a few HQ buildings, some supplies. Nothing too crazy. Again, HAL 13, and then another unit there. But yeah, so hoping y'all are digging all this. Yeah, the goal is to keep this flowing like it's a Vietnam scene. A lot of the scripting, a lot of the new stuff that we're talking about incorporating will be coming down the road. Again, we'd like to do troop insertion extraction missions separate from the SOG guys, right? So the SOG guys will be limited in scope, more drop them off in an austere location, trigger maybe a combat scenario, assist in taking out MVA around that area, and then maybe pick them up in RTB, and then have random triggers maybe if we can pull it off. You know, maybe someone injured, maybe we captured an intel guy and he's spitting out information. I don't know, just something to kind of make it feel real. And then we're gonna want to script if we can pull it off, infantry under fire, so like a danger close scenario, where maybe we're coming in and taking out MVA in a ridge line or something, or in the bush, and you got to come in and do a dust off mission with a Huey, or maybe even bring in the CH-47. I don't know. One other thing I forgot to mention is we're looking into on the forums maybe even doing SOG insertions with the Bronco, because they were used during Vietnam to insert special operations guys. Right now in the mod, I believe you can do para jumps with those guys. I think you can insert via paratroopers. So we could possibly simulate dropping off 3 SOG units in the jungle. They land and kind of take off and do their thing, and then after an X amount of time triggers an extract mission. So we're kind of looking into that. So we got a lot of things going on. But yeah, we're constantly looking to beef this thing up, make it better. We're continuously working on performance and just keeping our eyes open for any Vietnam stuff out there. There's a really cool Vietnam boat mod that came out last month. So anybody who pushes that our way, just understand the main reason we can't utilize that is because it takes advantage of one of the assets from the paid World War II asset pack, and what we don't want to do is put that in here and have it as a requirement for mods and then people not be able to play it. So so you can play right now without owning an official mod like the CH-47 or whatever. But if we start incorporating anything mod pack wise from the World War II mods or the World War II asset pack, I don't think it's going to allow you to play the mission, and we don't want to limit anybody. So that new boat, unfortunately, it looks badass. We can't use it because not everybody owns a World War II asset pack. So this was a little bit of a long-winded video. We got a lot of updates coming, a lot of work, a lot of irons in the fire. But I just kind of wanted to give you all an update on why we were having y'all download the new Toby and 8-Ball Maritime asset pack, and why we feel it's going to bring a lot of added benefit to the game. So yeah, hope y'all enjoy this, and you know, ETA on getting this out the door. In its current state that I just showed y'all, minus all the scripting stuff, I would probably say within the next week or two. We're gonna test fly this Thursday and test the scripts that Candy has been working on. There were a few bugs we had to squash from this weekend. So what y'all just saw me flying just now should be in the next release version. The only thing is you're gonna have to go download the Maritime pack from Toby and 8-Ball. We'll have that updated in the forum on the first page, and then you're going to have to download the Charlie, the LS-15 pack from that mod that I was telling you about. And that one I'm going to have to do a video on. so everybody knows where to download it. We'll leave the link in the thread, but I'm going to do a video on how to download it, just so y'all don't have to download 3 gigs. You only download the 3 folders you need. But yeah, hope everybody's as fired up as we are to get new stuff in here. And again, really appreciate everybody's support on this and enjoying what we're doing. And yeah, until next time.